Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Viking Academy podcast. Today on the podcast, I have two guests this time. I have Chad Jenkins and Dr. Nick. Okay. Now, what we've done here is we've gone through a deep dive. What we're doing is called quantum vision. They're telling me about quantum vision and how it actually impacts your reality. But not only that, it's how you actually see the infinite possibilities in the universe and as Chad put it, collapse it down into this reality. Now, here's the thing. These two guys are really, really successful entrepreneurs. We're talking about quantifiable, actionable, results-oriented things that we're talking about here. This isn't full woo-woo world, okay? So this, like we do talk in the Viking Academy, the mind, the body, and spirit. And there's a lot of spirit conversations that we have, which can seem out there for a lot of people. This conversation is got terra firma written all over it, but it's going to blow your fucking mind. It blew my mind, the conversation we got into it. Now, the last thing I just want to say before we get into the podcast is that at the beginning, Chad comes out with a fire hose, okay? He hits us hard and deep in terms of the concepts that he's talking about. Get through that, listen to the whole podcast, and then I recommend you go back to the beginning and listen to that intro again. So listen to it for a second time. When you listen to it the second time after listening to the full podcast, it will make so much more sense. It'll blow your mind, and it will change the way you see the world. It's changed the way I see the world now, and I'm actually really excited to see what it's going to do for you. So there you go. Chad and Stel, Dr. Nick, on the podcast coming up. Let's go explore. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Mr. Viking.
Eric, great to be here.
This is going to be interesting. I haven't done a three-way podcast yet. So that sounded really bad when it came out of my mouth. I was kind of trying to grab it and stuff it back in there. That sounded bad as well. But it'll be interesting to see how this flies. It's really interesting because I met both of you the last time we were at Strategic Coach, and you both mentioned to me this topic that I want to talk about today about quantum vision. And
Yes.
both were excited about it. You're both like, oh yeah, I want to. And Chad's like, I want to be on that podcast too. And then Stel's like, yeah, I want to talk about that. I'm like, well, fuck it. Let's have all three of us.
Let's do it.
Right. So let's do that. So which one of you want to go first on this, man? And just kind of set the stage for what we're talking about here.
Go, Chad.
Interesting. So, couple fundamentals. Particles are just particles. They're in all states at once until they're viewed. So would you argue that a true visionary has the ability to see particles in a different state? And one would argue potentially in a different dimension. And upon viewing the particles in that particular state, potentially in a different dimension, then that empowers you to bring it into collapse into this current reality. So it's something I deal with on a daily basis, dealing with entrepreneurs all over the world. They have objectives. They have, I would argue, and I quantify vision in 4 different categories, because all entrepreneurs have ideas. There is definitely a proportionate amount that is not taking action on those ideas. And I begin to ask questions as to why. And I feel like it's an absolute correlation with vision clarity. It's entrepreneurs, a lot of times are projected that you have to have confidence, you have to make a commitment and then confidence to take that first step. And I feel like that's in exact correlation to how much vision clarity do you have. And then if you take it a step further, when you think about the vision clarity, I quantify it in black and white. So this idea, this objective that you have, this outcome that you want, how clear do you see it? Is it in black and white like we grew up with? Some of us grew up with a black and white TV. Or do you see it in color? It means you can see it. You definitely can tell me a lot about it. you have an idea of a potential path to get there to create this future reality, future being, of course, subjective, or do you see it in HD? Not only do you see multiple ways to create this reality, whether it be future or currently, depending on your understanding of dimensions, which one is best, you don't know. Or do you have 4D vision? And 4D vision, I feel like collapses all time and space. You're able to tell me what it's going to be like, who's going to be sitting at the table, who's a winner, what does it smell like, feel like, what's the weather like, what's the paths to get there, and which path is best, and what are the collaborations in my world that are going to be required to create this future existence of or outcome that you seek. So to that, I feel like it is, you get to 4D and you have the capability to see a different potential dimension where this actually is reality, and that empowers you to bring it into the current.
Okay, so that was like down the deep end of next
Right away.
Dr.
Right
Nick
away.
Let's get
is like,
started.
holy crap. Okay, so let's just, I want to take a step back here so the listeners understand what we're going at here. So we're talking about vision, and you said a couple things at the front end here, Chad, that I just kind of want to unpack, is that when we're talking about quantum vision, it's seeing all of the particles, the possibilities
In that state.
in the state, but you're also saying having a true quantum vision is to see the particles or the possibilities in all their possibilities, which shall we call it alternate states of reality or different multiverse,
Dimensions.
like different
Yeah,
dimensions,
dimensions.
right? Dimensions,
Dimensions, yes.
to be
Yeah.
able to see that and then go, what's a way that I want to bring it all together? And that's the vision, to be able to see, like, it's almost like, you think about it as Doctor Strange, man, from Marvel comic. It's like he sits there and he goes and he sees all the different possibilities, all the million different possibilities. And he goes, oh, this is the only one. There's only one possibility that, Iron Man saves the day, right?
That's 4D vision, truly.
That's
That's
4D.
a great
true-
analogy.
Yeah, true
Correct.
4D vision, where he goes, there's only one possibility where we
Yes.
win, but Iron Man has to basically sacrifice himself, which I think we can you could go down an entire philosophical and spiritual road on the concept of sacrifice to get to the end, right? I think you have to sacrifice something to get to this vision, but
Correct.
but we're talking about seeing, and this kind of ties in again to what Stel, you and I were talking about on our podcast, which is that most people don't see reality for what it really is.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the understanding that every one of us have 2.2 million inputs in a day, and you're filtering out all but 131,000. Means we can wake up in the same bed, go to the same meetings, sit on the same Zoom calls, travel and eat at the same places, and you have a completely different experience. And it is your reality than I do.
Yeah, and in that state, and we're actually all living in a multiverse. Like when you think about it, everyone's in a different state of experiencing reality. So, and when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. So technically, we're all living in a different multiverse, right?
Yeah, we're the only ones that give things meaning. Things are just things. When's the last time you've been with somebody and something happened and they had a different visceral, oftentimes, reaction than you did? It's the same thing. You're the ones who give it meaning.
Oh, every time you watch a sporting event. I mean, I don't know if you guys are any hockey fans. Have you got any hockey fans on here? Next, yeah.
Go Leafs, go.
Yeah, go
Maybe
Leafs,
one.
go where though? Where are the Leafs going?
Go Leafs, win my Stanley Cup, go.
Yeah, just once before I die, right? That's the comment. Just Leafs, just one before I die, right?
It's hilarious.
But you watch the same game, and you see it was an exciting game, but one person goes, that was total crap, and the other one goes, that was amazing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. We give things meaning, which is the power that we all have. I wish that all of us would get to that level of understanding and understand the true power that we have. You're doing it, you're just doing it unintentionally. If you get to the place where you have this awareness and therefore the power, the capability, and now beyond capabilities, very distinct differences between capability and ability. You may own a piano. You have the capability of doing some incredible music. Your ability says you're going to plink out Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Those are two wildly different things.
Or
So
a hell
helping
of a
people
or a hell of a chopsticks. Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, so to getting and helping all of us understand the capability we have and to foster and grow the ability that we have the ability and capability to actually elevate to is a huge deal. So that I created this formula called the IC3 formula every day, because what I'm trying to do is to empower others with what comes, it seems, naturally. Like how do I yield this level of vision? And the IC3 formula is very simple. Every day that we're given, everyone on the planet, there's no difference between you and I. As long as you have breath, you're going to collect. And what I boiled it down to is you're going to collect one of four things, or all four things: relationships, awareness, knowledge, and experience. So the only thing I'm encouraging that you might consider is combine that with who you know, what you know, or where you know. And every time you do that, you're going to create. So you may not create a 4D level of vision, but it empowers you, if you're running this program, to constantly create. And now, you hear me say a lot of times, if you do not have a vision partner that has the capability of 4D vision, find one.
Dr. Nick, what do you think when you hear 4D vision? I mean, you're nodding your head here. What do you like when you hear 4D, when you hear Chad say 4D, what do you think of that in terms of 4D?
Okay, so first of all, thanks for inviting me. I love the last podcast. It was actually amazing, and your ability to ask the questions, to bring up concepts that can seem somewhat intangible, to make them tangible for people to grasp, was amazing. And so we're all three of us are in Strategic Coach, right? An entrepreneurial program. And I'll use that as the metaphor to explain how I perceive how my vision shifts. And I'm a neurovisual optometrist by profession. But this is one question that was posed at Strategic Coach, and I'll pose it to you, Eric, and the listeners. How many of you have heard of quantum physics?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody put their hand up, right, when it was posed. So then the second question was, how many of you understand quantum physics? And then all the hands go down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, so now you hear the word quantum physics and it's automatic that it's real, even though we don't know and understand it. But obviously there's been some applications for it to make it real where it's not negated in any way. Okay. So first part. Second part. When I say quantum vision, right, what does it mean to me? For most people, when they see something that's real, okay, or solid, okay,
Physical.
then again, physical, they make the assumption it's real, right? And if we play within the visible spectrum of light, we see that those frequencies.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Because I say that's what someone says. I don't believe it unless I see it, unless it's real. Right. I won't believe it until I see it. Right.
Okay. But here's the thing, though. Like, what we see is only a small portion of what actually exists. Really small portion. And if I talk frequencies in terms of radio waves, UV rays, gamma rays, all these rays, right? We can talk in terms of frequency. So the higher order, beyond and above the visible spectrum, the tighter the frequency it is. Okay.
Right.
Below the spectrum of light, the more broad the frequency is. Okay. Now here's the thing. The other analogy I give is this. Okay. So you have a dog whistle and I blow the dog whistle. Does it have a frequency? How do you know?
It does. I've been told it does.
How do you know? Have you experienced the frequency?
Yeah. No.
Right? You experience it through the dog. The dog has access to that frequency, and we have experience through the dog but that doesn't mean that the frequency doesn't exist. It's just not in a space that we can necessarily grab it. Okay.
Okay.
But it exists. It's a high frequency that a dog can capture it, or the dog's auditory system can capture it. We necessarily can't as human beings. All right. So let's start there. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, if we want to get to higher order frequencies that we can't necessarily experience, like actually see. Okay. And there's a great book by Dawkins. What's his first name? Anyway, it's called Letting Go. I don't know. I can't remember the author's name. It'll come to me. So Letting Go is basically a book talking about how do we capture the higher order frequencies and in the form of emotions. Okay. So low order frequencies are the sadness, the angers, the rages, the so on and so on and so on. Okay.
Oh, this is
The
power
high-
versus force. This is Dawkins. Dawkins.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
talks
yeah.
about it in both. Well, Letting Go, he
Yeah.
talks about the frequencies of it.
Okay.
Great books, both of them, by the way. Okay. So if you have lower frequencies, which are basically the negative emotions, right? Sadness, anger, fear, right? What would the higher frequencies be, or the highest frequencies?
Well,
Happiness,
happiness,
joy.
joy,
Happiness, joy, love, peace, gratitude. They're
Sure.
all in this higher frequency. All right. So now, if we visualize, okay, so we close our eyes and we have this image in our mind's eye. Is it real?
it can feel real.
It
But-
could feel. Is it real? Can you grab it?
Well, on a definite. Well, again, what's your definition of real? If the definition is I can see it, I can touch it and feel it, then it's not real. But you can't touch and feel. You can't touch a sound, but the sound is real. So you're hearing that,
Right.
right?
Right.
But in the vision, I can see it, but I can't necessarily hear it or touch it. So then, is that not real? So it's real enough to me. I see it in my mind's eye. And I see with a lot of entrepreneurs in this, it's like the ability to see a future, brighter future is like our superpower. It's go, oh, I see that, right? I see the
Yeah.
opportunity, right?
Truly
So
see it.
Yeah.
The reason I bring it up is that I'm trying to define that, if it's real to you,
Mm-hmm.
that means you have a vision of some sort. Okay. Now the
Right.
brain can't tell the difference. Your mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not real. Okay. So even if you think you see something, or if you actually see something, to the brain, it still sees it. The unconscious mind still sees it. Okay.
Yes.
So what's quantum vision then? Right. So
That's
what
what
is
we're
it that
trying to get the
talking-
answer to.
Yeah, that's where I'm going. So what's quantum vision? So what is it, and at what level of frequency are we talking about that creates this quantum thing? Okay. And then what Chad mentioned was
I want to just grab that.
yeah,
The ability to see all of the particles and their possibilities and the different combinations is what we're talking about as quantum vision, is to be able
right.
to see all of the possibilities and the combinations of possibilities is a quantum vision, to see at the quantum level.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So now the question, what Chad mentioned is, here's all these particles, here's all these possibilities, here's this space of having access to your ability to visualize, right? Get this 4D. I think it's higher than that, but 4D, 5D, it doesn't matter what you call it. But now if I can see and I can create a vision, okay, whether it's the future or something that means something to me. Okay. Now it's of higher order because it's not here. It's not in a physical state right now. Okay. It's something that sits up here.
Yeah.
Here's the key ingredient though. I need to combine that with the feeling that's also connected to that frequency.
Right.
So if something that I am seeing or visualizing, okay, and remember what Chad also said is there's no time and space at that point. So if I can visualize something that has meaning for me,
That's the emotional part.
the
Creates
emotional
the
part,
yeah.
at a much higher level of love, peace, joy, okay?
Mhm.
And those two connect. Now my brain is already set up to really look for it so that it looks and it sounds, the key word that you hear is manifestation. It becomes reality. It's always been there. It's just now it becomes aware to the person in front of us, to the object in front of us.
So, for example, like I watch Chad do this all the time, and he blows people's minds away when we're in these strategic coach levels with all these entrepreneurs with all these great visions. And Chad will sit there, and I can see him thinking. I could see the wheels going, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, you combine that with that with that. You bring it together, boom." And he puts it in front of somebody, and they just look at it like, "Where did you see how?" And they go, "Oh my God, this is so powerful." It's almost like they go, "How did I miss this?"
Yeah.
Like Chad, you see at the quantum level, you see the like you see the possibilities, and then you're pulling them together, and then you go, oh, and you put it in front of somebody, the idea, and they're like, holy crap,
Yeah.
right? But what? So there's so many different routes I want to go down here. So I'm starting to understand what we're talking about now. But you're talking about let's just keep going on where you were talking about here, Stel. Is that you're talking about that the energy frequency aligning with the vision or aligning with the quantum vision, that is the triggering point that gets your mind, your eyes seeing and your ears looking, hearing
Yes.
what you're looking for. But
Yes.
that's
what your brain is looking for.
what your brain is looking for. That's
Yes.
the beginning of the, shall we call it the manifestation process.
Well, okay.
Or
Chad said something important. He said, if you can align with someone that also has 4D vision, okay, and then that's when it gets exciting, right? Now, think about it. And think frequencies. Now, have you ever done something with someone and they say to you,
I've done lots of things with a lot of people, and I can't share on this podcast.
I don't know. Yeah. That's funny. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's gonna work. You know, I can't believe that guy did something to me. And okay, have you ever right? Where it's like negative Nelly, or
yeah.
they're always looking at the problem. Like there's no movement in it, right? So that the way that they're gonna perceive the world is based through the filter of, you know, I'll call it a low frequency. Okay. And then a lot of times you'll say, hey, how's your look from now? Like, what are you excited about? So you're from today. What are you excited about? I don't know. It's right. You hear they don't have the ability to see anything at that point. Okay. Now, the opposite of that is this is what it sounds like when somebody's playing in 4D space. That sounds interesting. Tell me more. Tell me more. Okay. And then the other person's like, holy cow. Okay. I don't even know how to articulate this. This is the key words that you're going to hear. I don't know how to articulate this. Something is getting me really excited. You know, everything that's happening right now, I see an opportunity. I'm not quite sure what it is. There's an AI component to this thing, and I don't really understand AI. But okay, when you hear that, that's giving you an indication that there's movement. There's something that's going to be there in order to then allow the vision to come out of some sort. Okay. When you have two or more people, places, or things, as Chad was saying, what it does is it elevates an awareness and an excitement level that allows everything to have what I call coherence. Okay. I'll give you an example in Strategic Coach for the listeners that don't know. Every hour or so, we take a tool and then we break down how we perceive the tool and the learnings within the tool. Okay, now we're all in different businesses. We have so many different things. But by the time we're done the exercise, it's like this one common theme comes out of it. And it's like, wow, I didn't even know it was going to take that turn. It's kind of like now with your podcast.
Yeah.
Right? We're going in quantum vision. Where the heck is this going to take us? Now, what happens is the sharing allows therefore to then be an ability for the other person to take in the information. And I'll say from an energetic level, but it's a higher frequency component of it, where now the creative, which is what Chad was referring to, the creative internally starts to get processed. Okay. And then the second person will basically articulate what their concept was that they wrote down. And what you hear commonly is, as Eric mentioned too, which I never thought about it this way, boom. Okay. And then it takes on a different turn. So the key piece that I want to mention is that when you think of wavelengths or frequencies. Doesn't matter if it's light, doesn't matter if it's sound, doesn't matter if it's emotions. It's all the same thing. When you have two people or ideas that come together, what happens is once those frequencies connect and you have coherence, it creates a 1 + 1 = 3 dynamic.
That's the
Okay.
alignment. When you find someone that you're aligned with, and you just have like I got to say, for both of you guys, like the minute I met both of you, we started talking, and instantly there's just this bang, and it was like
Mhm.
boom, and you're vibrating, you're aligned, and it's energetic, and it feels like it's raising the roof.
It's
Exactly.
racing it because there's more communication happening than the conventional wisdom that normal is today. Not physical, not verbal, but I would argue at a cellular level that's happening specific to the frequency. And one typically is vibrating at a higher frequency, but one becomes dominant and the other begins to elevate to that level. And then you're able to communicate at a much higher level without using the conventional wisdom that we understand communication happens today, at least as a population. You can move much faster. There's words. We'll use words because, again, it's the convention today, but you are truly communicating and able to leave stuff out. I see more than I can say all the time. But with certain people, I don't have to use that amount of words to convey the communication. So the reality is you're moving much faster. And I feel like your description, the first time you began to speak with either one of us, that's what you felt.
Yes. Yeah.
Chad, can you share third mind innovation? Because I think that's a really good concrete way of people understanding sort of
yeah, it's
coherence of
interesting. Yeah, there's some folks around the world. I'm so fortunate that my days are spent engaging with entrepreneurs, helping them with 4D vision to create a path to the objective that they want. So there are some, Eric, you mentioned that the first time we began to engage, you felt different. You could move. It felt like a higher frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Third Mind Innovation, TMI, is my reference to it. About a year and a half ago, I began to really study. There are certain folks around the planet that whenever I jump on a Zoom or happen to see them in person, I can just move much faster. What is happening here? And so I began to really study it. And as it turns out, I do date night every Thursday with my wife for, I guess, now 18 years. And one time she was unable to go because of sickness. She had to stay home with the girls. And I was just fresh off a plane. So I went to grab dinner by myself and I began to do this research on third mind innovation. I just put it in to see what in the world would come up. As it turns out, Ford, Carnegie, and Edison would get together periodically. And they felt like they were tapping into the universe's wisdom and creativity
Mm-hmm.
because they could move much faster. And they began to see things and share them with each other and would be able to respond to what was new. And they didn't feel like it was coming from them, but through them. They called it Third Mind. And they would get together quarterly. A year and a half after I established TMI, Third Mind Innovation, and it's just an awareness that I had. I found out that it had been going on a lot longer, of course, than just me becoming aware of it.
I was aware of Carnegie's his mastermind, the concept around the mastermind, but this sounds like it's even more honed into the like-minded frequency at that level. Well, you see, that's what happens when we're at these events, right? You can
It
instantly
is.
feel when you walk into the room. So we have the 3 different levels of rooms there, right? I can feel it the minute I walk into one of the rooms. I know if I'm in a
Yes.
free zone room, I know if I'm a 10x room, I know if I'm in a signature room. You can feel the energy vibration, and it's almost like
Sure.
a divining rod that kind of I hone the room, and then all of a sudden someone gets closer, and it's this law of attraction, and boom, I start having a conversation with them, and it goes up, or I start having a conversation with them, and instantly my insides are just like, get me the fuck out of here. Like I
Yes.
just gotta run away.
I can understand the latter of that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
The earlier is way enjoyable. That's why I do what I do on a daily basis. I'm looking for that. Why not?
This is
We all have this capability.
so that's tapping into the divine. It's tapping into the third mind integration. You're tapping in.
Innovation.
Yeah, that and that for me, that is what excites me, is getting
Mhm.
into that true exploration of the the spirit. That's the mind, the body, and spirit. I think almost coming all together. It's almost like the three come together when you're with the right like-minded people, and all of a sudden you can feel it physically, you're stimulated mentally, and spiritually you feel yourself a higher vibration. Like, to come back to what you said, Dr. Nick, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So here's a question for you guys. How do you, and Chad, you and I talked about this on our podcast, how you get into this state, but how do you consciously stay on top of, or how do you consciously hone this quantum vision to expand your quantum vision? Because obviously both of you have been working on this and thinking about it a lot more, and actively engaging, so that the quantum vision ultimately taps into this third mind integration, right? And that's where, is that where are you finding a connection between the two for yourself, Chad? Like, that you find your ability to see quantum vision expands based on how much interaction you have with a third mind integration?
Yeah. So I know the ones that I can get there immediately with. One's on the call today. Typically it starts around 5:30 in the morning, headed to the gym. And if either one of us are available, why not? And it takes 60 seconds and you're there. So that just, the other person's vibrating at a like frequency, and they have a general level of curiosity in alignment with what you also possess. It doesn't matter topic specific, though sometimes that can be a catalyst to get the other party up to the same level. Then you can use certain tactics like that if you're just trying to be intentional about it. And then once you're at that particular level, you can navigate to other topics. I mentioned the IC3 formula earlier. And so I'm in search of the same thing. How can I empower other entrepreneurs to get to that particular place to run the program that creates endless value creation? Well, to do that, I feel like you have to elevate to that particular level. So I begin to understand what's really going on here. And this currently, the IC3 formula is the best that I've been able to verbalize and create for others to follow the path. Some I feel like it comes natural. I'm absolutely in search of them. I would say that there are more of them out there, but they're specific by category. So I have some very high-end longevity level doctors around the world that in their craft, they're absolutely elevated to third mind innovation. So it's fun to chat with them specific about something they're so passionate about. Dr. Nick talked about the feeling that's required to ultimately collapse this 4D vision, potentially in a different dimension, into the current reality. Therefore, if you find them being those that are so passionate about what they're doing, that they have the ability, they're visionaries by default, they have the vision and the passion driven to create a bigger outcome for others, that's a clear indication that they have that level of 4D vision, just not horizontal, but vertical, which are still amazing to be engaged with.
You just said something there. I quickly marked it down because and I want to get your take on this. You said, how do we collapse this quantum vision into our reality?
Current reality. Yeah.
Our current reality. I'm curious, why did you pick that language around that, is collapsing that into our reality?
Yeah. So if you, we'll try to make it shorter. If they're truly,
Stel's laughing right now.
I'm curious.
Yeah. So if there is,
are you going to
no
put
time
this in a half-hour podcast?
Yeah. If there's no time and space, if everything was created at the same time, there is no future, there is no past, there's just now. So what other explanation do you have other than multiple dimensions, particles in a different state, all particles in a different state? So your ability, this is how powerful each of us are. I'm able to see you two gentlemen on Zoom currently in a particular state. That's the power that each of us have, is you're able to see that at the same time. Everything is moving so quickly that it has to be moving so quickly if truly everything is all right now. So to be able to see different dimensions, then you're able not only just to see it, but then you have to bring it down and collapse it into this current reality that somebody else also can experience that other dimension. So you're just moving them between dimensions, but you have to be able to see it and then collapse it.
Okay, now I instantly had that click because the collapse made sense, because if everything's happening, it's like everywhere all at once, all at the same, like it's all happening all at once. That means it has to be moving so fast. Everything happening all at once. There's infinite realities all happening at the same time. Of course, you're collapsing down one of those moralities, collapsing it down into this so you can see it. You can experience it.
And you're taking others with you if you're able to elevate them to the same frequency that you have. You're literally collapsing it into the current reality.
Into the reality that the three of us can comprehend at this moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's other realities that are happening that you're experiencing and probably aware of that I'm not aware of, and Stel, you're not aware of.
Yeah.
And the same way around, like all three, like there's all sorts of things that are happening that we're aware of that the other two aren't aware of.
Correct. Even right now.
Yes.
Even on this podcast.
Yes.
We're just jumping different dimensions. No, and I have no training, no background, no education. It's a little bit of curiosity.
I would say a little bit more than a little, dude.
Mm.
Stel, what do you do to get yourself into this mindset where you're looking for the when you're like, and now, by the way, you guys this is the one thing I love. It's like, once you know, you can't unknow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to be, and I hope the listeners is getting the same out of this as I'm getting out of this podcast. Cause now all of a sudden now I'm going to be I'm looking at the world right now. It's just changed for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally changed. Like
you're literally creating this reality that you see. The chair behind you, the couch, that cup on the table.
The Viking axe.
And every bit of it. Like that is, you're creating it and I'm creating it as well. That's what I see.
Yeah. Stel.
Yes.
How do you
open up a rabbit hole and a half? Okay, so I'll try to make this as real as possible so it's graspable. Okay. And one thing that I've always done since I was young is model success. Okay, so if I see someone that's successful, it's like, okay, what are they doing that's bringing their success, and duplicate it? Okay, so here's some common themes that you hear a lot. Okay, successful people, when do they wake up? Not at 3 p.m.
No, early.
Okay, so now my curiosity is, why do they wake up so early?
Mm-hmm.
Why not just stay up late at night?
Mm-mm.
What do they do when they wake up that early? Okay, so here are the questions. What do they eat? How do they eat? How do they live? What's important to them? All these things were curiosities for me. Okay, and there's pretty consistent patterns that showed up. Now, with regards to what Chad was saying, it's like, we're both up at 5 o'clock in the morning and doing our morning ritual. If you look at ancient cultures, there was always a morning ritual.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's around sunrise. Okay, there's always something that happens. The meditations happen in the morning. So, and I don't want to get into the details of sort of the ancient cultural thing, but there's got to be something to it that's connected. So here's a morning ritual to get the day started on a launch pad. Okay, now, how many times have you woken up going, oh my God, here we go? Okay, you never see successful people say that.
No.
They get up and they go, let's go. Mm-hmm. And then my curiosity was saying, what's getting them so excited? Okay, and usually they'll say something that's purpose-driven, something that matters, something that's meaningful, right? But they've created a habit. And here's the thing, creating those habits as a human being is not easy. We're not developed to think and say, hey, are we at a high frequency? Okay, we're developed to be sad, angry, fearful, and all these things because they're survival mechanisms. But now the question is, how do you turn that around so that it's actually the fuel to support this vision? Okay, quantum just means it's higher. And then allow that vision to pull you towards something that matters, which is connected to purpose. All right. Backtrack to the morning now. There's a great program that Kevin Trudeau created called Your Wish is Your Command. Okay, and I'm going to rephrase it a little bit. Okay, but these are the key 5 principles that he talks about. The first one he says is, how coachable are you? What's your coachability index? Okay, so if you learn something or from someone that you know is creating success, what are the chances that you're going to be coachable to say, I'm going to do exactly what they do? The second you turn around and go, well, yeah, but no. Kiss that one goodbye. Okay. Second one is called the training balance scale. I'm going to shift it a little bit, but for me is how much focus is on purpose or your why and how much focus is on details of what you need to do. Okay, and it should be a 99% minimum to 1 difference. Now, if you don't know what your purpose is, you don't know what your why is, you got work to do. That part starts to oscillate, and then you start moving towards the direction of purpose-driven initiatives. Why? Because they drive you. Okay, or I saw the drive that was happening with, again, successful people.
Sorry, just clarify that again, just to get, and any of the listeners got confused on that because I did slightly. So
okay,
the
so
purpose and details is you
in
want
details.
you want
Yeah,
it to be
so-
which way?
So
Purpose.
imagine it's purpose, right? So imagine
Purpose
it's
is your
like,
1%, 99% your
no,
details.
99% should be purpose-driven,
Yeah.
and 1% should be on the details of how to do it.
That's where your focus is.
You got it.
Yeah. For always focus. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay.
Okay, because you have to remember, the more
Yeah.
the more you focus in the direction of what your purpose is,
Yeah.
the more excited you get.
For me, that's that's a Viking Academy in a nutshell, boys. That's like I want people to live with passion and purpose. And my
Yes.
my thought or my ethos in this and where it's been going is that when we're actively exploring our mind, our body, and our spirits, like in that spirit, that is the adventure. That's the discovery of who we are and why we're here and what we're here to do. And then you have this passion and purpose, and now you're off. Let's
Boom.
go.
Yeah,
Like let's fire, right?
it gets you up in the morning.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Gets you
yeah.
excited. Gets you up in the morning.
I just
Next
needed
one.
to clarify that because again, some of the listeners, I got flipped over there for a split second, but I'm it's interesting because once you said it, I'm like, well, yeah, of course, because that's
Of course.
it's funny because of course that's just the way I behave, but I want to get some concrete things for people to follow. So yeah,
Look, a lot of the things that I'm going to say, it's easy to say, of course, okay, but you have to remember our behaviors are driven by 95% of our unconscious programming that's going on inside our heads.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so think about how that needs to get unprogrammed in such a way that guides us to what our purpose is. Okay, so I mean, it sounds simple. It's not that. I mean, it's simple, but it's not easy. Okay?
yeah.
Now,
when I
here's the
say
next
of
one.
course, I'm saying, oh yeah, of course, because that's how I already behave. That's what I mean by
Okay.
that. That's it.
Here's the next one.
Yeah.
Who are you listening to? Who are you hanging out with?
I'm hanging out with you guys.
Okay. Now, if I'm listening to someone that's already successful in where I want to go, or I'm also hanging out with people that are also in 4D with me. Okay. It's a key ingredient. What do they say? Birds of a feather
Yeah.
flock together.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, so that's what, number 3?
Yeah. That's number
Coaching index, training balance scale. Then we got who you're listening to.
Yeah.
Now, the next one. When you start something new, okay, it's easy, again, to be taken out by the unconscious programs. Are you good enough? I don't know if you could do this. I'm tired. Blah, blah, all these other things. So what do? The second, so it's the training skill. And most people have heard this, right? You don't know what you don't know. Initially, it's like driving a car. You have no idea how to drive a car. You're not aware that you don't even know how to drive a car. So you have unconscious incompetence. Okay? You don't know what you don't know. All of a sudden, you meet some cool dude and you're like, hey, that looks cool. I'm going to start waking up in the morning, but I have no idea how to do that. So now I'm conscious about the incompetence of the fact that I'm getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, now this is where it gets cool, because you're going to go, the alarm clock, you're like, why am I doing this? Okay, what's my coachability index? Okay, he's doing it, I'm going to do it. Bing, here we go. Now you do that enough times, and now you become consciously competent. You know you can do it now. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, here we go. Need to think about that alarm again and again and again and again. You do that enough times, and now there's an unconscious competence. You just do it. It's in
it's a rhythm.
It's a rhythm. It's part of who you become. And then you keep repeating this pattern. And now all of a sudden you start getting those results.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I say I have a morning ritual, everybody hears, wow. Yep. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Yep. I juice every day. Yep. I meditate every day. Yep. I go to the gym 5 days a week. Right. This is a process. And then you start looking, you go, okay, so now I have this morning rhythm and ritual. How do you think my day starts? Low frequency or high frequency?
Well, you're resonating at high frequency.
You're resonating in high frequency. So if I'm resonating in a high frequency, right? And imagine now, I'm going to use the radio analogy. So I'm resonating at 107.9. I'm dialed in.
Yeah.
What am I listening to? Other people that are also resonating on 107.9. Now, if I choose to, I can adjust my frequency to go to 99.9, go to 101.3, go to 102.1, okay? And then I choose the frequency that I want to create my reality in based on that moment. Okay? Yep. When you have the ability and flexibility to have the range of frequencies to choose from, now you control the system. And what I mean by controlling the system is now you create visions of possibilities, tune into that frequency, and then this now goes to the conversation Chad was talking about. How do you now take that and bring it down to reality? And it comes up as a good idea. And they go, wow, where'd you come up with that idea? It helps so many people. So my personal vision can have a global impact based on the levels of frequency that now I can run on.
You've given me there's a whole bunch of things on the check. Did we hit all 5 here? We had coachable.
Oh, number 5. Number 5 is repeat. Repeat and return. Repeat and return.
Yeah, okay. Repeat and return.
Number 5 is repeat and return.
Run the program.
Run the program. That's that. I love that analogy of, and I remember hearing Tony Robbins talk about this, is priming yourself, because the way we experience life is basically how you think about life is how you experience it. So why not prime yourself to experience the best possible version of it? But I really like the visual. I want to combine what you guys talked about here. This visual of setting the frequency as high as possible as soon as you get up in the morning, so you can adjust your frequency up and down. You've got full range of motion, because you can always go down easily, but going up is harder, right? Because once you've kind of bumped that ceiling of complexity, you have that frequency you can go into where you can then collapse the quantum vision into this reality. You put the two together, right? So you've got this ability to go up and down, and then you can collapse the 4D or the quantum vision into this reality. Did I combine those two together right?
No, it's really good. It's the best way to explain something that you need to experience.
Yeah, and then becomes the experience part. Like how do you actually experience? Well, and then Chad, I mean, this is what you do all day. You're doing this all day long, right? And like you're meeting and talking to entrepreneurs all the time, and saying, okay, so literally you're already primed to look for. You're already looking. You have quantum vision. That's the other thing. So. Do you guys say that to yourselves all the time? I have quantum vision.
I don't say. I'm trying to answer it. I'm trying to figure out exactly how do I produce the outcome that is the ability to see the capability of 2 or more people, places, and things coming together to create. Oftentimes it's being driven by an entrepreneur wants a particular outcome. They have an objective. They don't know how to get there. Sometimes they're fuzzy. Again, they go back to the four devils. They're black and white in their objective and their outcome and their wants and their ideas. They're black and white. Sometimes they're not even color or HD. But if I can just tune into and begin to see a picture and bring that from black and white to 4D, it always, always, always engages and requires collaboration. There's nothing anybody on this call or who hears this has ever done by themselves. It's always in collaboration with another person, place, or thing, or multiple people, places, and things. So to be able to close your eyes and see the people, the places, and things that come together to create this opportunity that relates to your objective or outcome or want or your idea is the cohesion between current reality and future would be the conventional term currently. And of course, on the call, that'd be just a different dimension.
You're
But
right.
taking them along that path and being able to collapse it into a reality in which now they can see it too, it gives them what I would classify as a trajectory pivot along their own journey. It empowers them to create the outcome that they look for.
And that whole process that you explained about what you're doing there is the process of having quantum vision.
The best that I can,
because everything,
yeah,
Accessing.
the infinite
That's the-
possibilities and combining them. So you're engaging in quantum vision all the time. That's what you're doing all the time is where's
all the time.
And it's all a collaboration because again, seeing the infinite possibilities is going, what needs to connect, what needs to be combined with what needs to be collaborated with what to put together to collapse it down into this reality so that it becomes a possibility for the person to see.
Yeah, there's some fundamental rules for me. Everything that you see, everything that you've seen, and everything you will ever see all started as an idea in someone's imagination. Nothing has been done by an individual. It's all been a collaboration of a person, place, or thing to create what we see now. So what's holding us back? Vision.
Okay, I just want to go in a little side slant here. When you're talking about that, like, so we're talking about the Zoom call, we're talking about all the things that we're looking at in here. But when you're talking about a true collaboration from, shall we call it the creation of the world, we're talking a collaboration with the creator.
It's all one.
Yeah.
One thing.
It's all one. We're
Yeah.
all connected. Consciousness is all connected. I'm connected to you. We're connected to Stel. Stel's connected to everything. This lady passing by my car. We're all connected.
But anything that we
So to
have,
create this current reality is a collaboration. Would we agree upon that?
it would be a full collaborate. Yeah, it's an interesting concept because what you just said there kind of, the concept of saying God is out there and instead where it's like, no, this is what Jesus said. Ye are sons,
Everything.
you're
is
God, sons of the Most High. You are God. We
everything.
are.
You are. Yes.
Yeah, we
you
are.
are. This telephone is. This
Yeah,
vehicle.
everything. It's all
Everything. Everything.
everything.
We're all connected. We
Yeah.
all come together to create this current reality.
Yeah. And but the paradox is that it's all one thing, but yet it's been split up
Nothing.
into multiple infinite things. Like in my Father's house, there's many mansions. There's all these things and they all collaborate together to connect, to come together to create a new reality, but it's all one anyways.
When you're viewed, when you view it. Particles are just particles. They're in all states at once until they're viewed.
Yeah. And so what is that box, the experiment? It's the, when the light particles, they come and they split them in that,
Yeah.
a scientific experiment. And then they said,
They're going through slits. is
yeah,
what
they
you're
go
talking
through
about.
slits. And then if you observe it, it makes a different pattern than if you don't observe it, run it through, and then you go and look at it. And then it's a totally different pattern. So
That is correct.
light will change just by looking at it. Like things
Yes.
change the minute we look at it, which is like we'll call it the scientifically proven. That's what happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? The whole, Still, I just want to come back to this because when I saw you last time, you had this shared in one of the groups. I think it was in Toronto last time, and you just went boom, and you had this huge aha where you were explaining how you saw things differently. Like you guys are constantly seeing. I think I've watched you both constantly seeing higher and deeper levels of reality, or shall we say, possibilities. It's like every time we get excited to get that dopamine hit, it's because we found another connection to the infinite possibilities of all the particles. Like that's when the dopamine hit comes in, is when you see a new connection between the particles, which gets you closer to understanding that it's all connected. But it's like an infinite game. It's like it doesn't have, you know what I mean? Like it's an infinite game. There's like this constant, you can explore till the cows come home, right? And
Yes,
you will never find the end of it.
that's correct. That's the fun part. So if you don't have a vision partner, find one.
Okay, talk to me a little bit more about that. When you say vision partner,
Someone who can see in 4D.
right?
What I would argue is a true visionary.
So you would say, like, given your experience of meeting entrepreneurs, how many of them are true visionaries that see in 4D? I mean, I guess it would be it's not a black or white. It's a
Scale.
Yeah, it's
There's a scale.
A scale. Yeah, a scale
Yes. Yeah.
of moving
Yeah.
that on.
Yeah.
But how
Yeah.
many do you see in 4D? Like, I see clearly
Mm.
that you see in 4D. That's what you do every day.
I see a lot of things. Yes, sir. I would say in the ones that I engage with, Stel, I'd love for you to give a percentage.
Yeah,
Do you think 10, 5 or 10? 5?
I think I don't know, this question is difficult, right? Because it's well, I'll give you an example, right? Like Chad and I have a collaboration called Co-Vision. Okay. And if I look back to when it started, I didn't have the same vision that I do now. And I'm sure it's not going to be the same as how I see it, a year or two from now, but it's much clearer for me now. And so one of my unique abilities is to be able to reframe the past for people in such a way that creates a compelling vision of the future so that they can be more present in the moment, right? So I'm highly trained in NLP, timeline therapy, vision therapy. Like there's a lot of tools that I have, but it's part of what I'm unique at. Okay. So I'll go back to the frequencies in terms of, if somebody's driven based on fear, for example, which a lot of entrepreneurs are, it's what drives us. Okay. But the thing is, if fear keeps pushing us, it leads to burnout. I mean, it's difficult. It's not efficient.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lack of clarity of vision.
Right. But again,
So hold on, stop. You think fear is just a lack of clarity of vision?
Or it drives. So go ahead, Chad, come in on this thing. But for me, I see it as the driver, okay, that pushes when somebody doesn't have a clarity of vision to pull them.
Correct.
Okay. Because it's a lot easier for fear to drive because we're so used to it. It's hard even having these conversations with an intangible, say, what's your vision of the future? Okay. Now, the way that this happened is we were in a room with Chad and he said, you need to talk to that guy. He needs your help. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. Sure enough, we're in a breakout session and I find out that he has an emotion that's blocking him. And I'm like, how did you know? He goes, I just know. I'm like, how the hell did you know? Right. So what ended up happening, deeper conversations and the ability for me to use my unique ability, basically what it did is reframe the past, change the vibration, change the frequency level so that they had a clearer vision of the future. We good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So now my collaborative partner comes in and he says, all right, let's have a conversation now, and uses his unique ability to be able to make the vision clearer for them. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. Hold a safe space for them to have clarity of what their vision is. From an entrepreneurial, very structured, capable understanding of making it real. Because once they see how they can make it real with the construct, now it's like, all right, we can have this conversation. But the reason why it tends to be more successful with two entrepreneurs or places or things that are riding at a higher frequency is because they're going to come up with a third mind innovation or ideas that didn't exist before. And it excites both of them. Okay. So the combination between letting go of the past, which is again is part of the story, right? If I hear somebody's being challenged, it's like, game on, let's go. And I use Oprah as an example. There's challenges there. Reframing those challenges gives you a pretty clear indication of their purpose and a clearer dimension in terms of vision. So think of it this way. So Chad said black and white versus color versus 3D versus HD, 4D, call it whatever you want. You know what black and white looks like? You know what black and white looks like?
Oh yeah,
Fuzzy.
I used to have a black and white TV when I was a kid.
But do you know what makes it fuzzy or not quite as clear? Anger, sadness, hurt, fear, guilt, victim, problem. What am I doing here? Okay, there's a whole bunch of things. Now, when we grow, when we transform, when we discover something, when we do something different, all of a sudden now it's clear. I have a color picture of what's going on here. Still might be 2D. I don't have depth, but at least I know it's there. Okay. The more I understand who I am, and again, where my direction is, now all of a sudden I have space between things and people. Whoa, now it's 3D because I'm in this reality that has depth to it.
Right.
Okay. The second it has meaning to me, and now it's purpose driven, there's global impact. I mean, it matters. Now the space happens within me, which then opens up the space to possibility, which then gets you connected ultimately to the oneness.
I got you on all that. I'm 100% on side. You said there's a collaboration you guys are doing. What was that collaboration? Tell me a little more about that.
Co-vision.
Co-vision. Talk to me.
Chad, you want to add more?
So yeah, I'm happy to do so.
And feel free to talk about Coverse if you want, because
As a default, all entrepreneurs, and I would argue all of humanity, has ideas. You are given by your creator this thing called imagination, and I would say that is in her, or whatever you would like to call it. That is it. Around the third grade, they begin to train it out of you, take it from you, rob it.
Yeah.
You begin to be trained to have convergent thinking, and they take away divergent thinking. Some of us return, some just bug the system. So in entrepreneurs with ideas, for some reason, I typically can feel when there's something holding them back. I don't have any skills. I don't have any training. The other gentleman on the call, very pedigreed, very trained, very experienced, and very capable with crazy ability. So Dr. Nick is able to find it, help identify it, and open it up. So he removes those rubber bands that are holding them back from what I would classify as their authentic potential.
Mm-hmm.
But then clarity of vision has to come into play to align with that full potential. And that's why I enjoy working with them. So he releases them.
Yes.
I help them see the future. And the collab that we've created, which is entrepreneurs all over the world, open and ready to collaborate with their unique value contribution to give it to you or to whomever to help create this future reality, or as we talked about earlier, collapse that dimension into the current reality.
I love that.
So that's what co-vision is.
Dude, I love that. That's fantastic. I also just love the concept of collapsing it into this current reality. But you guys are clearly taking your individual unique value contributions, collaborating together to bring these entrepreneurs into the third mind integration, where they're integrating with other collaborators. If you can bring the other collaborators in there, and if they're vibrating at the right frequency with the work that you've done, Nick, and then the work that you do, Chad, to bring them to that higher frequency, and then you can bring in other higher frequency collaborators, which is your expertise, Chad, is to find those like how we need to connect it all together. Boom, you bring that together, then you've opened that third mind integration. Hopefully you've opened the third mind integration, right? Which then it puts rocks
causes a trajectory pivot.
Then you
along
structure it to come into physical present reality.
Right.
Correct. Tons of fun.
Yeah, and
You're funny.
you guys have totally done a number to me here. This is awesome. This is, and you know the best part, I knew it was going to be a great conversation. I had no idea what it was going to be, which is part of the fun. That's the excitement, the discovery. But just my, like, seriously, guys, I'm looking around at everything now totally differently. Like,
Knowing that you do create it and you have
yes,
the power to create it.
yes.
It all exists all at one time. Which dimension do you want to participate in?
Yeah, I want to, I want to hang
you
out,
are
and
the one that-
resonate. I want to vibrate with you guys.
Yeah.
There, that bring
Yeah.
it back to the beginning of the podcast, where it's very
Mhm.
inappropriate conversation, Eric. You want to vibrate
Yeah.
with your friends.
I
Yeah.
liked it. It's the best threesome I've ever had.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
guys. Anything else you want to add here before we sign off? This has been a brain burner for me. This has been awesome.
Mhm. There's a lot more, but this is probably enough for the time in which we allotted. Let that marinate,
Yeah,
and then we can do it again.
yeah. Let's do that. I definitely want to do
No,
this again.
one thing I want to, I'll finish with this. The Chad mentioned, right, that you can't do this alone. And the one piece in terms of who you listen to, who you're hanging out with, to get into a group or, an organization or people that believe in you before you believe in yourself is how it all began for me.
Mm.
And, just be aware of the environment that has what you want intuitively, because sometimes you just don't know, right? Because
Mhm.
that to me was a huge, huge, huge game changer. So I just wanted to make, if somebody asks, where do I begin? I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
where I would start.
Mhm.
Well, and if they're listening to this podcast, the first place you can start is join the Viking Academy. It's free. It's a free open source, and you get in there, you get access to all the podcasts, all its resources. I like what you've said. You've created a spark of creativity in me. This third mind integration. I see that as the Viking Academy is creating that space for people to come together to start opening up their minds to this quantum vision for themselves and to actively play. That's the other thing I just want to add at the end here, guys. When we start talking about this, I get this energetic feeling of when I was a kid again, and I was
Yes.
exploring and discovering the world for the first time and going, oh, look at this. Like, you ever see these little kids? And I always get down as soon as I see little kids, I'm like, oh, welcome to the planet. Isn't this fun? And they're just like, their eyes are wide, spaciously babies. They're like looking around going, what is this place? When you guys have been talking and I feel the energy, I'm like, this feels fun. It feels energetic. It feels playful, like when I was a kid.
Mhm. Get ready. AI is going to give you the opportunity to do that. When all these rudimentary tasks that we can interpret today, value is created when someone executes a conventional task, that's about to evaporate. What's going to be left? Your ability to be more authentically human. What do I mean? Get back to that third grade, 8-year-old with that big imagination.
Yeah.
You just came out of theta state. So
Yeah.
you're beginning your trek into full consciousness, at least at the level in which you are at that age. Heavy imagination. And the good thing is you combine that with an awareness that everything is a collaboration. Let your mind expand. Vision is the catalyst. There's capabilities all around you. What the capabilities typically do not have, vision. So your vision combined with someone who has capabilities creates an outcome. It's a wonderland.
And joyful and fun and creative. And
Yes.
And I love how you said that too, because I've been saying that a lot in with my other business, the Accountant Success Formula. I've been talking to these accountants. I'm like, all these mundane numbers and boxes. I've been talking about it for 10 years saying, guys,
Yes.
it's going away. But
It's going away quick.
It's going away really fast. But here's the best part. What your clients really want is you, is who you are as a human being and connecting with them and understanding them. So stop just trying to make like accountants are so big on trying to make efficiencies and make everything go faster, quicker, quicker. I'm like, that's a race to the bottom. It's about your humanity, but this vision of that AI is taking away the mundane tasks so that we can all become more human. I love that.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
I think we're going to put the cherry on top of this podcast right with that one.
Awesome.
Awesome.
It's been enjoyable.
Thank
you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we'll do it
Eric.
again. See you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Viking Academy podcast. Make sure to leave us your honest feedback by leaving a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.